Recording in progress.
Okay, I think everything is set up so we can start. Welcome to the live student interview at CS Academy. This is the English version, and today we're just going to be asking some of the TAs at CS Academy about their CS journey. So we can start with introductions. Tell us your name, year, major, minor. How long have you been at CS Academy?
Sure, I can start. My name is Adarsh. I am currently a junior at Carnegie Mellon. I'm studying economics with an additional major in statistics and machine learning. This is currently my third year or second year, end of my second year on the team. I joined at the end of my freshman fall, and I'm currently one of the head TAs for the outreach team.
My name is Raul. I'm a sophomore. I'm studying information systems here at CSEdweek, and this is my almost the end of my first year here at CS Academy.
And my name is Hewitt. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering, and it's my third year, I think, with CS Academy, and I'm also on the outreach team.
Okay, very cool. The next question we had was, what brought you to CS? How long have you been programming for? When did you first do anything that had to do with CS? Does anyone want to start? Okay.
I think the first time I ever did anything related to CS would have to be seventh grade. We had like a little programming club in our middle school, and we kind of just did little. We worked with sprites, and we had to just like program into movie. It was very basic, but I enjoyed it, and I think that's that's where I started like gaining more interest in programming, and eventually led to me taking some class in high school, and then obviously in senior year as well.
See, I think one of the first things I did with computer science was in a computer class in fifth grade, where we used the Alice 3D, like 3D modeling language, and so that was a very basic first experience coding.
My first experience with computer science was actually learning more of the hardware side. That was my freshman year of high school. And along with that, I learned a lot of pseudocode, which is basically not a programming language, but basically just teaching you how to code. And then after that, I started taking some classes. The first language I learned was JavaScript briefly, and then I learned Python before I came to CMU and started taking more computer science classes.
Cool. The next question we had was, what was your first programming language? But I guess some of you already covered that. So maybe we can just talk about what is your current favorite programming language and why?
My favorite programming language is Rust, because it's a little complicated. It's kind of lower level, but it's a pretty new language. But it relies on technology of some older languages like Fortran. So I think it's cool. I think it's got a lot of promise. Like it just came out in like 2018, which is pretty recent in terms of programming languages. But I think it's got a lot of cool new features that'll make it a very important language in the years to come.
For me, I'll take the boring answer. My favorite language is Python because, first of all, that's what we use for CMU CS Academy. And secondly, as a machine learning student, a lot of the code that we run relies on packages, and a lot of the most up-to-date packages are actually in Python. So I think that's really helpful and helps me keep up to date with the latest advancements in my field. So I think I would definitely say Python for its just pure applicability and also its ease of understanding.
I think I'm gonna piggyback as well and say Python's definitely one of the like most this is the programming language I most enjoyed, just because as well like it's a ease of understanding, but also I feel like there's a lot of applicability to it, as they're said. But also I just really enjoy it, especially because like I ran to like experience a lot of it with CS Academy, and just a lot of like programs we've done, and helping the teachers, which is like a lot of the questions they have. I think it's very like interesting language, and especially like there's sort of all the packages, all the stuff you can actually do with Python. It's very interesting, and I think this is very fun to experience.
That sounds good. My favorite language is also Python because it's easy to use. What is your favorite CS project that you've worked on?
I can go first again. All right, so in 112, which is sort of at CMU, it's the introductory programming class, and it's in Python. Everybody does a term project, which is like an end of semester project, and mine was I tried to recreate Minecraft, which it was pretty fun. It was a lot of fun to work on. It was very slow because Python is not really a good language to do 3D graphics from scratch. I mean, there are a lot of things you can do to optimize it, but I was just doing like very basic stuff. It was a lot of fun. It was very slow, and the blocks were just all one color. But yeah, that was my favorite project because it was one of the first like big projects I worked on that involved like coding.
Yeah, I would also say the same. I did a different project, but it was the same thing for my term project for 112, which is the equivalent of CPCS. For that, I made a Sudoku game from scratch. And I think like more than just like the overall like UI design aspect, which I didn't have much experience with, I think definitely the most fun part was having to build an automatic solver, which finds the most efficient way to solve the Sudoku algorithm as a user would. And I think being able to kind of implement those algorithms and use more like complicated coding techniques was something that was really interesting for me. And it was also the first project, the first coding project of mine that I kind of did over an extended period of time. And I think like just like the length and scope and the actual like difficulty of the project made it really rewarding in the end. So I would definitely point to that.
I think for me, it was also as well the 112 project, the term project. I worked on doing kind of like a 2D like battle royale type of game, and I really learned a lot from it, especially like how to handle like CPUs, which is a very critical point of the game. And it was very difficult to code because they all had to like move independently of like the actual character that the user was controlling. And yeah, like implementing all this with Python was very like interesting to see. Like it definitely, like you would say, like it definitely got slow parts, but it was very fun. I enjoyed it.
Nice. The next question is, what kind of advice do you have for students who are new to programming, and I guess mostly to like students in middle school and high school, or maybe elementary school?
I would say my number one piece of advice would just be perseverance, like keep going through with it. I know definitely at times when you're doing projects like, especially like the term project that we all talked about, there are definitely points where you hit rough patches, where you hit errors and you don't know how to fix them. So definitely perseverance is the biggest thing because once you get past those errors, I think you just find a lot of value and you find a lot of like happiness out of being able to finish those projects as opposed to just like quitting midway through. So definitely being able to do that is would be my biggest suggestion. And I think that also just like helps you move forward at a consistent pace and be able to achieve a lot more in computer science and in the field of coding.
I think I would also suggest perseverance, but also I would also say asking for help is a critical part. And I think in everything, but especially in programming, especially when you hit like this rough patches, it's very easy to just try and do it on your own. But I think like a very important part is just interacting with other people and asking them for help, especially when they know better and like they can teach you about it rather than just you trying to go at it on your own and like spend more time. But I feel like getting someone to actually teach you the stuff better and like actually show you how the stuff works, I think it's a very critical part in developing your own programming skills and like just empowering you to actually try and do this more complicated tasks. Because when you know someone, when you have someone who can help you through the whole process.
Yeah, I would agree with both of those. And I'd also say like one thing that's important is to make sure you understand the fundamentals before you try to build something too big. Because like when I was younger, I was like, oh, apps are cool. Like I love designing. I want to design apps. And it was always really hard because I didn't know what I was doing. So I tried to take on too much. So I think just start with something that's easy to understand and then you can build and then you'll build really quickly that way instead of trying to start too big at first.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of your advice. The next question is, what do you think are important traits a good programmer should have, and what makes a good programmer?
I would say patience, because sometimes you have to think about it for a while, to take a break, come back, and just really, like we were saying earlier with perseverance, I think patience goes along with that. Sometimes there's a bug that's really hard to find. You just have to sort of wait and just be patient and wait to figure out what's going on.
I think another one would also have to be being creative. Creative is, I think, like very heavy part in programming, especially when you're trying to come up with different solutions to a specific problem. It can be really easy if you're creative and you're like gonna come up with just like a very I guess wide array of answers to a specific problem, to the same problem, and can just effectively do it and I like so sometimes like it can be easy to do it in one way, but it can be hard to do it in one way. So being creative and figuring out these like different ways to do it, so it can help you figuring out which way you want to go.
Yeah, I completely agree with those 2 points. Another thing I would say has served me very well is just the ability to be able to break down problems. So you always start off with like one big problem, and in computer science, they call it top-down programming, where you start off with a big problem and then you break it up into smaller sub-problems, and then you break down those sub-problems into even smaller parts. I think that's something that can really help with breaking down really large, daunting tasks. Like if you start off with the goal of building an app, like you had mentioned, it's not just you build an app all at once. There's different components. And if you're able to effectively break down the task into several different manageable pieces, I think that makes programming a lot easier, a lot more fun. And I think it also makes your end goals a lot more achievable.
Yeah, definitely. The next question is, do you have any personal favorite debugging tricks that you'll like to share?
You can start and say, oh yeah, sorry, but I can start to say like, definitely printing everything. I think that's a very critical part. Yeah, just like I feel like sometimes we like forget about like the basic fundamentals, but I feel like printing just whenever you encounter bugs and it's very easy to try and just think about the program in like in all in entirety, and then just printing at very like specific parts and seeing what actually the code is doing. I feel that's a very easy way to like figure out where stuff is going wrong, and you can develop more debugging from there. But I feel like a very starting point, just printing is a specific parts of your code.
Yeah, I totally agree. And kind of like piggybacking off of that, I would say writing test cases, I think, is also super, super helpful because, yeah, if you know what a certain input, like for a certain input, what the output should be, I think at those points it's really, really helpful to write test cases. And even in some cases to break down like one function into several like helper functions and then testing each of those individually. I think that's the easiest way to just like gut check and think about, I have this function which is supposed to return a certain value. Does it actually do that? And so, yeah, I think test cases is definitely one of the best, and I think the tried and true method of debugging for most programmers.
Yeah, I would say probably the best method is to write a mathematical proof that your code is correct for all inputs, because that way no one can argue with you. I'm just kidding. I mean, that's something that people do, which like I didn't know when I started learning CS that people will write proofs, like math proofs about their code. But so another classic technique to debug is called rubber ducking, because the idea is that you explain your code line by line to a rubber duck, and then, but in doing so, you can sort of hear what the error is in your logic. So I think that's another classic method of debugging.
Cool. The next question was, what is the most rewarding part for you in learning or working in CS?
For me, definitely the most rewarding piece of working in CS is just the ability to help people. I think that's one of the main reasons that I was attracted to working for CMU CS Academy, because the focus of CMU CS Academy is that there are people in the world who unfortunately don't have much access to internet and to programming and computer science, and we are able to bridge that gap. And I think that's something that brings me great joy. And hearing from teachers telling them that the work that I did to help them solve a particular problem was really helpful to their students or was really helpful to their class, I think those are the kind of things that really push me forward and really give me value and make me enjoy the experience of working for CS Academy.
Yeah, definitely working with CS Academy and knowing that like what we're building is something that anybody can use for free, and that I think it's really nice to know that it'll help a lot of people. And I mean, the reason that I wanted to help out at CS Academy in the first place is because when I heard about it, I was like, I wish I had this in my high school. Like, why didn't I have this? And so I was like, oh, well, I want someone, other people to be able to have this. And so I think that is just a really nice part of working at CS Academy.
Yeah, I think that definitely like bridging the gap of people who don't have access to this type of programming experience. And I feel like especially in today's day and age, I feel like it's very critical for at least like a lot of people to know at least basic programming skills, just because like it's definitely useful in the workplace. But definitely like, being able to help all these teachers, especially for me because I'm in the Spanish program as well. I can help like the Latin American community with a lot of like bringing like this programming skills that we bring through CS Academy to a part of the world who is like not really known for being not being very critical in programming, which is I think a very big part of why I joined. And I'm glad we're able to do this to not only like in America but also like all over the world, which I really enjoy.
Yeah. The next question is, have you participated in any hackathons or coding competitions? If yes, how was the experience?
I participated in one hackathon in high school. And essentially, our project was designed to have a walking stick, and it would variably change its height based on the terrain and the location that you were currently in. I found the experience to be extremely valuable not only from a perspective of being able to like actually make something from start to finish, but I think more importantly, teaching you about teamwork, teaching you about leadership, how to work in teams, how to be able to delegate tasks. I think those are the kind of intangible skills that some of these experiences will teach you. Whereas in a classroom, you might be able to learn the actual like coding skills and the actual knowledge that's needed to be applied. But I also believe that some of those other skills are equally as important in order to be successful. So those kind of experiences were extremely valuable, and in particular the hackathon that I did attend.
Oh, I was able to participate in hackathon, especially for 112. There's like a hackathon, like I think weekend, I think, yeah, where where you spend like a couple like well, I think a whole day on just working on a program that you come up with as a group. And for us, it was kind of like a Rubik's cube solver, which was very interesting to try and employ. But basically, yeah, like Adarsh said, like being able to share all these experiences, like individual experiences of how to approach programming and delegating all these tasks to specific people, especially like who have 14 specific areas in a coding language, and being able to just complete something as a group and presenting it was very like fun, I think, and I definitely enjoyed it. It was definitely like a specific experience, a unique experience, and that's something I would do again.
Yeah, I also participated in the 112 hackathon, and yeah, like you mentioned, I think teamwork is a big thing that you learn doing hackathons. And so we tried to do recreate a board game called Corridor, and we didn't get very far because it is just like over the course of 24 hours, and people will stay up all night to do it. And but it was a fun experience, even though we didn't get super far with it. So I would definitely recommend it as well.
The next question is, are there any particular CS topics or technologies you're passionate about, like AI, cybersecurity, or game development? And maybe talk about, are there any classes that you took that got you into this topic? And like, where do you kind of want to go with that topic or technology?
You can go first and say I'm I'm really interested in the cybersecurity part of CS. I think I'm just taking my first class this semester, so my fall semester, my sophomore year, and I'm just getting like a sense of honestly like in technology side, but more privacy side right now. I'm hoping to get more into technology side as I take more classes for this cybersecurity sector, but I'm definitely enjoying it. I feel like it's a way to bridge like CS. We kind of like probably seeing like public problems in the world. So I think it's like a definitely interesting topic and interesting way to approach things. So like as technology gets more advanced, like we also have like security risks. So it's very critical. That's because it's definitely not gonna go away. So I definitely enjoyed it, and yeah, I feel like it's really interesting and a specific topic that I think CMU has a great wider range of areas to explore.
Yeah, for me, I would say machine learning is definitely one of my areas of focus, as it is one of my majors. But I believe that CMU has some really great classes. I took the introduction to machine learning class 2 semesters ago, and it was extremely valuable and helpful. It taught me a lot, and it actually broke down a lot of the barriers, the kind of I had preconceived notions about AI and machine learning, but actually learning the math and the fundamentals behind those topics, I think was a really eye-opening experience and really made me want to learn more. And so as a result of that, I've taken a couple of other classes. Like, for example, this semester I'm taking a class called Machine Learning for Business Analytics, which is more of an application-focused class. So that's been really helpful, where you just get a data set and you're trying to fit a model and try to see what that tells you about the situation or the context that you've been given. Next semester, I'm also taking a class called Generative AI, which is kind of teaching about the most current, up-to-date technologies in AI and machine learning. and kind of learning the math and the fundamentals behind that, as well as being able to actually implement those in real life. So I would say those are some of the classes that have really influenced me and really made me passionate about machine learning as a topic.
Yeah, so like I said earlier, I'm a mechanical engineering major. So I'm interested in sort of the intersection between engineering and computer science, because a lot of engineering, you need to do simulations of fluids or heat or structures. And so there needs to be good software for engineers to use, because a lot of times they don't have a lot of programming experience. And there's a lot of bad engineering software out there, especially MATLAB. And so I'm just kind of interested in what, in the future, what kind of technology could there be that is more up to date and easier to use in terms of engineering applications?
I guess the next question that we have is, are there any like memorable mistakes or really big challenges that you felt when you after you started programming, and what did you learn from it?
I mean, let's see. Recently in one class called distributed programming, we had to make a Bitcoin miner, which simulates sort of mining Bitcoin, but it doesn't actually do it. And there was one small bug where I had a less than sign instead of a greater than sign. And that caused a lot of problems. It was very hard to find. And it's just one symbol that was flipped. So I guess the takeaway is to always make sure that you have the right symbols and the right math. So I guess that's, a recent mistake.
For me, this semester I was taking 5122, which is like the next, I guess, class for programming after 112. And there was this bug that I had where basically it was like it was supposed to count like basically like how many lines to skip for a specific if statement. And basically the problem was that it was skipping incorrectly and I didn't know why. And it took me a while, but eventually I used I wrote some test cases and print statements to figure out why. And after that, I just kept on scanning my code and figure out I was doing a double count at the beginning and at the end of the specific function. So that was a pretty again easy bug to just take away that first counting and just we'll do it correctly. But it was very interesting. A very major bug is because making basically every if statement not work correctly. But yeah, that's one of my recent examples of being able to just basically learn from it. Basically a lot of the mistakes that we make are usually just small mistakes, not necessarily conceptual mistakes, but it's definitely interesting to see.
Yeah, I would say one for me that sticks out is from a class that I was taking this semester. And for that class, I was actually coding in a language called R, which is a statistical computing language. And so if you're not familiar with the R Studio environment, essentially after you write your code, you have to knit all of your code, and then it'll produce a PDF document at the end, which you would submit for a homework assignment, for example. And so for me, I had an error where all of the code was running locally, but when I tried to knit it, my studio environment would just always break, and I had no idea why. I tried every single possible. I Googled the error. I did everything you could possibly think of, and I couldn't figure out what was going wrong. So in the end, I actually just I went up to the professor, and even the professor didn't know what was going on. So I ended up copying the actual text of my code and sending it to my professor over an email. And then when he ran it in his local computer environment, it worked perfectly fine. So I think that kind of goes back to what Raul was saying earlier as well, which is just always seek out help, because sometimes there are also things that are out of your control. And so it might not even be like a coding mistake or an error that you have made, but it's just like something isn't working for some reason. And so the more people can kind of put their minds towards a particular issue, usually the quicker you'll be able to solve that and be able to move forward. So that was a situation where it wasn't really in my control, but I was able to ask for help. And then when somebody else ran the same code on their computer, everything worked perfectly fine.
I have one more, which is for the same class I was talking about before, I had a variable and I didn't capitalize the name of the variable. And I should have capitalized the name of the variable because that in the language that I used called Go, that changes the functionality of the variable if you capitalize it versus not capitalize it. And so I think the main mistake was using a language where capitalizing the variable name changes what it does, because I just think that's a bad design choice. And it leads to very confusing bugs, because in a lot of languages, if you capitalize a variable, it doesn't really change anything. So that's just another one that I wanted to put out there.
Yeah, I'm in the same class as Hewitt, and that also happened to me, but we did end up catching it, which is good. I think that is all the time that we have for today. Do you guys have any ending remarks from the interview? Or not really?
I can go with a little. Really enjoy what you're doing. Like, I think programming is one of like those like very easy way to express yourself, and like very like just specific programs that you want to do, and just projects that you're very interested in and you actually love. Like it's a very easy way to like really get to enjoy programming. Just doing these specific projects that are just like unique to you and like you love to do, and I feel like you can learn more through those than just doing like just specific homeworks or specific projects for a class. I feel like you doing on your own time doing these projects. I feel like it's a very easy way to approach programming, and like a very good way to approach programming, and a very easy way to actually enjoy programming. Because I know it's not something like it's hard for when you're just doing it for a class, and like maybe you're just having trouble with it. Like doing it on your own, it's a very great way to approach it.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing actually, because when I was in high school, I did an internship and I had to use R, which we were talking about before. And so I learned R for the internship, and then I came back. It was over winter break. I came back to school and I had chemistry class, and I coded a program that would do my chemistry homework for me, like would solve whatever equations. And then I was like, told my friends, like, come here, just put in your numbers, and I'll calculate the answer for you with my program. And so and sometimes it didn't work, and then they got mad because like they got the wrong answer. But yeah, so it's like what you were saying, like just do something that's fun, that like something that's unique to you, and that's something like a project that you come up with and that you can do. And I think that's a really fun way to explore what's possible with computer science.
Yeah, kind of connected to that. I would also just echo that and go further to say, just approach everything, and especially computer science, with like a growth and a learning mindset. So don't go in. And I think this is a mistake that even I made when I was taking my first CS class, was that at times I would care so much about like my grade and doing well in an assignment that I would kind of forgo actually learning the concept. And I think that's something that I wish I hadn't have done. And that would kind of be my biggest piece of advice, is just make sure that you do it for learning, because in the end it will pay off. Like everything in computer science builds on each other. And so when you actually learn these concepts well the first time around, it makes everything so much easier as you move forward. And I think having that growth mindset of being willing to learn and being interested in learning new topics and being able to push the boundaries, like Hewitt and Raul said, I think that really just like will enhance your experience in computer science and coding like 100-fold. So that would be kind of the main piece that I would end on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adarsh, Hewitt, and Raul for joining us today.